I was talking to an army officer who had been at the camp where Elvis Presley was. All of the teasing and the joking about getting his hair cut and all of that, he took it all like a champion. 1 year before his death in 1974, Ed Sullivan, the man who helped make the careers of countless stars on his famous Sunday night television show, shared a secret that shocked those who knew him. For decades, he was seen as the ultimate gatekeeper of American entertainment, introducing icons like Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and the Supremes to millions of viewers. But behind his calm, serious face, Sullivan had strong personal opinions. And in his final year, he finally admitted there were 7 singers he absolutely had problems with. The names on that list still cause debate, controversy, and fascination to this day. And these names will definitely shock you. Ed Sullivan's big Hollywood career. Ed Sullivan's life and career showed not only his personal dreams but also how American entertainment changed throughout the 1900s. Laughter. Born on September 28, 1901 in Harlem, New York City, Sullivan entered the world at a time when both the city and the country were going through huge changes. Harlem was a lively and diverse neighborhood filled with working-class families trying to build a better life. The environment shaped Sullivan's early outlook, giving him a strong work ethic and a determination to succeed despite the challenges of his humble beginnings. His early years gave no sign that he would one day become one of the most powerful figures in American popular culture, but they planted the seeds of never giving up and being able to adapt that would carry him through a remarkable career. During the 1920s and 1930s, Sullivan began to make his mark as a writer in New York's busy newspaper industry. The interesting thing about Ed was that he started off first of all as a columnist, as a journalist, I should say, that eventually set him up with a very powerful column. He first worked as a sports writer covering boxing, baseball, and other athletic events that captivated readers during the Roaring Twenties. Sports writing required an ability to capture drama and personality, and Sullivan got really good at these skills in his columns. Over time, he moved into entertainment writing, becoming an entertainment columnist whose words had influence across the city. This shift put him at the heart of New York show business, where theater, vaudeville, and movies collided. Sullivan's writing gave him a seat at the table with performers, managers, and producers. And his columns had the power to build reputations or hurt careers. For Sullivan, these years were more than just journalism. They were a training ground for understanding audiences, judging talent, and making himself a trusted, if sometimes feared, voice in the entertainment world. By 1941, Sullivan's dreams pushed him beyond print media and into broadcasting, which was quickly becoming the main form of entertainment. That year, he began hosting Summer Silver Theater, a dramatic anthology series on CBS Radio. The move from columnist to broadcaster represented a critical turning point. While Sullivan lacked the polished voice and charm often associated with radio personalities, he made up for it with his deep knowledge of show business and his organizational skills. He understood how to put together talent and create a program that appealed to a wide audience. Summer Silver Theater introduced him to a new medium and proved that he could succeed beyond newspapers. This experience laid the groundwork for his eventual leap to television, a medium that was still very new at the time. In 1948, Sullivan stepped into the role that would define his legacy with the premiere of Toast of the Town on CBS. The program was designed as a variety show, a format that brought together musicians, comedians, dancers, novelty acts, and even circus performers under one roof. Sullivan served as the host, but unlike many of his contemporaries, he did not try to steal the spotlight. His role was more that of a ringmaster, guiding the audience from one act to another with a steady, if somewhat stiff, manner. Critics often noted that Sullivan lacked charisma, and some even mocked his wooden presence on screen. Yet, this very quality became part of his appeal. Audiences trusted him because he came across as serious and real. He was not there to charm them. He was there to deliver entertainment. This reliability made the show a success. In 1955, Toast of the Town was renamed The Ed Sullivan Show, cementing both his name and his program in television history. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. The 1950s marked the height of Sullivan's influence and the beginning of his reputation as one of the most powerful figures in American entertainment. His show became the ultimate stage for performers seeking national exposure. One of the most notable examples was Elvis Presley, whose appearances on the show between 1956 and 1957 drew massive audiences and stirred controversy. Sullivan initially hesitated to book Presley, worried about the singer's provocative style and the backlash it might cause. However, The public's demand was undeniable and Sullivan eventually brought him on. The decision proved to be historic. Presley's performances electrified viewers, though the network famously ordered the cameras to film him only from the waist up to avoid broadcasting his hip movements. These appearances helped solidify Elvis's rise to superstardom and showed Sullivan's role as a cultural gatekeeper. Even when he personally disapproved, he recognized the importance of reflecting popular trends and giving audiences what they wanted. The most iconic moment of Sullivan's career came in 1964 with the U.S. television debut of the Beatles. On February 9th, over 70 million viewers tuned in to watch the young band from Liverpool perform live on the Ed Sullivan Show. The broadcast captivated the nation, sparking Beatlemania and marking a defining moment in music history. For millions of American teenagers, this was their first exposure to the group that would reshape popular culture. The Beatles' performance did not just entertain. It symbolized a generational shift. Sullivan's decision to bring them on highlighted his ability to recognize the next wave of talent and deliver it to audiences at just the right moment. Even decades later, this broadcast remains one of the most famous events in television history, and it underscored Sullivan's unique role as the man who connected the American public to global cultural movements. Throughout the 1960s and into the 1970s, Sullivan continued to introduce new talent across genres. His stage welcomed the Supremes, whose polished harmonies and groundbreaking success helped define the Motown sound. The Rolling Stones also appeared on his show, bringing a grittier, edgier rock style to American living rooms. Sullivan's platform was not limited to music. He also gave opportunities to comedians such as Richard Pryor and George Carlin, who would go on to revolutionize the world of comedy with their sharp insights and bold styles by offering a stage where both established stars and newcomers could perform. Sullivan kept his program fresh and relevant even as cultural tastes evolved rapidly during the 1960s. His willingness to adapt while maintaining a family-friendly image demonstrated his skill at balancing tradition with change. However, the television industry itself was changing, and by 1971, the long run of the Ed Sullivan Show came to an end. After 23 years on the air, CBS canceled the program, citing declining ratings and shifting priorities in programming. For Sullivan, the cancellation marked the conclusion of an extraordinary chapter in television history. His show had outlasted countless competitors and had become a Sunday night ritual for millions of families. The end of the program was not just the close of a television show, but the closing of an era in American entertainment. For nearly a quarter of a century, Ed Sullivan had been the face of variety television, shaping the careers of performers and influencing the cultural landscape of the nation. Sullivan's criticism, illness, and death. Ed Sullivan's career was defined by success, influence, and an unmatched ability to bring performers into the national spotlight. But one of the most consistent critiques throughout his life was about his on-stage presence. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Sullivan was not a natural performer. He lacked the polish, warmth, and charisma that people often associated with television hosts. Audiences and critics alike described him as stiff, awkward, and almost uncomfortable in front of the camera. His posture was often rigid, his expressions minimal, and his delivery flat. For some, this made him appear cold, as though he were distant or detached from the very entertainment he was presenting. For others, it highlighted a certain honesty. Sullivan was not pretending to be a glamorous showman. He was simply doing his job as a host. While the comments about his style were not a scandal or a controversy, they did become a recurring part of his public image. Over time, the awkwardness itself became a recognizable trait that set him apart from other television figures. Audiences came to expect his stiff introductions and steady manner. And in a way, this became as much a part of the show's identity as the acts he introduced. This perception of Sullivan as cold or rigid did not stop him from achieving success. Nor did it diminish his importance in the entertainment industry. If anything, it reinforced the idea that he was not trying to compete with the performers for attention. Instead, his role was to shine the spotlight on others. His awkwardness became part of his brand, a reminder that he was there to introduce, not to outshine. Critics may have remarked on his lack of stage presence, but millions of viewers still tuned in every week because they trusted him to deliver the biggest names and the most exciting new acts. In a sense, his rigidity became proof of his reliability. He was not trying to charm audiences with witty jokes or smooth delivery. He was a straightforward guide to the entertainment they had come to see. After the cancellation of the Ed Sullivan Show in 1971, Sullivan remained a respected figure in American culture. though his era as a weekly television presence had come to an end. For more than 2 decades, he had been a Sunday night institution. But as television changed and audiences shifted, his influence naturally lessened. Still, his reputation as a cultural gatekeeper endured.